This is how to crochet the V+Puff stitch. For the beginning chain, we need multiples of 6 plus 7, and I'm starting with 31 chains. From here, we are going to add a V-stitch into the 5th chain from the hook, and a V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all into the same stitch. So here I'm adding my first double crochet, and I'm going to pinch each section after I yarn over and pull through 2, and push the loops back onto the body of the hook, and that'll help me keep even stitch sizes while I'm working. I do this every time I crochet. This is not just for demonstration. If you can get your hands to develop that muscle memory, it'll really help on your crochet journey. After the V-stitch, we are going to skip 2 chains and add a puff stitch into the 3rd chain. For that, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, push the loops back onto the body of the hook, yarn over, hold the loop back, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, hold the loops back, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. Next, we're going to use our middle finger and thumb to pinch the bottom part of all those loops, so that when we yarn over and rotate our hook down, we can wiggle it through without it getting caught on anything. Once we're through all the loops, we're going to chain 1 to finish the puff stitch. Next, you can pull the chain so that the loop is minimized, because after pulling up all those loops, it will be big. And then we're going to skip 2 chains and add a V-stitch, skip 2 chains and add a puff stitch, all the way until the end. Again, the V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all into the same chain. And the puff stitch is yarn over, insert your hook and pull up a loop 3 times, and then yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook, and then chain 1 to close your puff stitch. Then when you get to the end, you're going to skip the second to last chain and add a double crochet into the last one. So before I talk you through the rest of the row, a very common question I get about the beginning chain is, what does it mean when I say 6 plus 7? So essentially you need multiples of 6, and then at the end you add 7 for the edges, meaning you need at least 6 chains to have one iteration of the puff stitch and a V-stitch with the 2 skipped chains in between. So depending on how many times you want to do that, if you're making a bigger blanket, you might need 20 of that. So you would take 20 times 6, which is 120, and then you add 7 so that you can have the even straight edges for both sides of your work. So the second part of that question is, how do you apply that to your own project? So you would take the final measurements that you're looking for. Let's say you're looking for the width, and the width that you want is 40 inches, and the width that you got from your swatch is 8 inches. So you would need the width of 5 swatches to get to 40 inches. So if this swatch required 5 repeats for the design, then you know that 5 times 5 is 25, and you would multiply 25 times 6 to get to 150, and then you add 7 for your final stitch or chain count for the beginning chain. I can make a more elaborate video with like a little diagram or whiteboard or whatever, just let me know, but that is how you would apply that math to your project. But if you enjoy these close-up stitch tutorials, be sure to like and follow. I post them every single day on my page. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments of any of my videos. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you in part 2. For part 2, we are going to chain 3, and then this is super easy. We are going to add a puff stitch in the center of every V-stitch and a V-stitch in the center of every puff stitch. And that's it. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the space, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then I'm going to do that 2 more times. So yarn over, insert the hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert the hook into the space, pull up the last loop, and then we're going to pinch the bottom and yarn over, pull through all the loops on the hook. And then we just have to add a V-stitch into the top of the puff stitch. So we're going to add a double crochet into the chain 1 space of the puff stitch, and then we will chain 1 and add a second double crochet into the same space. And then once we're done with that, we are going to continue alternating puff stitches and V-stitches. So yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, pinch, yarn over, wiggle, 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 pop, and chain 1. Then pull it apart a little bit so that everything stays an even size. And then double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet, and then another puff stitch. So yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, pinch, yarn over, wiggle, 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 pop, and chain 1. Then a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the same space, and then yarn over, insert the hook into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert the hook into the space, yarn over, insert the hook into the space, and pull up a loop, of course, and then yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook, and chain 1. Then double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and one more puff stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up another loop, yarn over and pull through all the loops, and chain 1. And now we're just going to add a double crochet on top of the top turning chain. That's what it's called. If you enjoyed these kind of close-up stitch tutorials, be sure to like and follow. I post them every single day on my page. Bye! And I'll make a point to go slower in my next tutorial. For row 3, we are going to chain 3 for the turning chain, and then we're essentially doing the same thing we did in row 2, but the other way around. We are going to add a V-stitch first, and then a puff stitch. But we are still putting V-stitches on top of puff stitches, and puff stitches into the center of V-stitches. So I think this works up super quick just because you don't have to count your stitches and your fingers are looking for spaces instead of stitches. But from here we are going to add 1 double crochet into the top of the turning chain, and then we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 until we have the height that we're looking for. In my case, I'm working up until row 15. If you want to crochet along with me, you are very welcome to stay. If you want to move on with your life and find another project, I have all kinds of stitch tutorials. And I just want to announce that I do have a website where I'm taking all of my content and I'm adding written instructions, photo tutorials, and if it requires a pattern that is outside of the written instructions, I have a downloadable PDF version of it. I mostly do that because back when I was teaching, I actually had books. So with every lesson, as students came in, I would have the written instructions and then whatever project we were working on for them to keep in a little 1/2-inch binder, I think it was. And I'm trying to do that with my website now since I'm not teaching in person. I want to start, but I'm nervous, not gonna lie. I don't know where to go and how to set it up. But if you're in the Mobile, Alabama area and you know of any places, I would love to go check them out. I'm just socially awkward. But if you enjoy these kind of close-up stitch tutorials, be sure to like and follow. I post them every single day. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments of any of my videos. I take an hour every day to respond to comments. If I don't get to yours right away, just give me a little bit of time.